Yes. At the office? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You send like a sample email? Oh, okay, gotcha. Which one? Okay.
All right, it is 12 o'clock. We're going to get ready. We're getting ready, or we're getting started. Want to make sure that we've got everybody and you guys can hear me. So there is a, I think everybody came in muted, and if they, you have two options. If you click on your screen, you should have a button that will allow you to unmute. And there's also, and this will probably be what we're using the most, the chat box. And so if you guys will just, let me get this real quick. So if you'll just hit a message in that, that chat box, just so that I can tell that you are hearing me and that you are here, that would be great. Okay, perfect. So we've got people saying that they are here, so that means you can hear me. Awesome. All right, so this is what, well, first off, thank you so much for being on today's webinar with me. I am extremely excited, and this is probably one of my favorite things because it makes such a huge impact in our business and in our lives. Now, I want to make sure that I've got this over here. Now, I will up front, just notification. I've used this program about 4 or 5 times. And so there's a possibility that things may not work right? That's just technology sometimes. And so if for some reason you're not seeing something or you quit hearing me, just type in that chat box or unmute yourself, and then we'll have that communication. All right, so this is being recorded as well. And so at the end, my intent is to send this to Kate. That way, if anybody has questions and you want to get a copy of this, you'll be able to do so. As we're going through this, what I'd love to see happen, if there's something that you have questions about, matter of fact, let's do that right now. So go ahead and just type in your chat box if you do already use a 411. And then whether or not you do or you don't, what are the things that you want to make sure that you get off of this call knowing how to do with it, or knowing how to, use it to impact your business? If y'all will chat that, I'll make sure I keep coming back to that, and to make sure that we cover all of that today. Now, the first piece that we want to make sure that you guys are looking at is an actual Write 411. One second, I'm not sure if my screen is sharing with you guys what I want it to. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. This is, one more second. I'm sorry, guys. Whenever I hit the new share, I don't think it's sharing with you the screen that I'd like for it to. So one more attempt. Okay, I think we're good to go now. All right. So, and what we're going to cover today is a couple things. One that we're going to look at is utilizing the 411. And Dustin, that's a great statement, right? You may use the 411, but how do we make sure that it's effective and not just a to-do list? So we want to take it from how do we use it into our, like how do we create our goals and then put it into our 411 and then actually go from our 411 into our calendar. And a lot of times that's the miss. And that's where it becomes that it's just something else to check off and it's not effective. So Dustin, that's amazing. And we're going to cover that. So interesting enough, this is actually, if you look at the 411 spreadsheet, it's an Excel file. And actually, Via Williams, another MAPS coach and mega team leader, she created it like this. And it's pretty handy because it's just, you can, save it in Google Docs. As your team inputs their information, you could, see it in real life time. So that's pretty interesting, really an effective tool. The other, we're going to also look at the 411 that is online on KW, just so that you know where to go to utilize that as well. And then some people just like the one that you're just simply doing a, on paper, pen and paper. So whichever one works for you, we have a little bit for everybody. Now, before we go into the 411, because I feel like this is the missing piece. We have to bridge from where we want to go to where we are. And that's what the 411 allows us to do. So on your sheet of paper in front of you, if you'll go ahead and type in or write in just someday goals and then underline it. And then right underneath that, you're going to write 5-year goal, underline it. 1-year goal, underline it. 1 month, 1 week, today. So sometimes these are challenging because we don't have our someday goals. So I'm going to walk you through the someday exercise. We're going to do it very quickly, just so that you can start utilizing and creating your 411 like immediately. And then somebody just asked the question, can we get a copy of this spreadsheet? Absolutely. I'll send it out to Kate's admin and she can get it to you guys. All right. Okay. So this is, this is where I want to start. So I'm going to walk you through an exercise. I'm going to do it pretty quickly. And so I want you to just take a deep breath, maybe close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do is I want you to think out to someday, like way out in the future, past 5, 10, 15, maybe you're 20 years, 30 years, but way out in the someday. What I'd like you to do is way out in the someday, think about what you want your life to look like way out into that someday. No limitations, money's no object. Thinking in that someday goal, I'd like you to picture yourself in that place that's so special to you, right? Maybe it's on the mountains or the beach, or heck, maybe you're like a vibrant city and you've got the hustle and bustle and there's a ranch, maybe you can see forever and ever. So now I want you to imagine it's the morning, you're waking up. Where do you see yourself? Are you in those mountains? Are you on the beach, right? Are you wide open spaces? And just jot that down on your sheet of paper. And matter of fact, go a little bit further. What structure are you in? Are you in a cabin on the lake, a high rise, or a house? Where are you at? Now, some of you guys, this goal setting to the now might sound familiar. John Davis did this with us on the for the growth initiative. It's also, and I'll also include this, and yet you can download it from the One Thing. There is it's called the Kick-Ass Planning Tool. And this will help you because again, if we don't, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but the Kick-Ass Planning Tool will include in an email to you as well. Now I want you to think about who is with you in this someday goal, right? Is your significant other there? What about your kids? Are they already in college or do they have families of their own? Maybe is your mom and dad living with you? And then I want you to think, do you have to work? Is work even there for you? Are you completely done with work? Is that all, is it for fun, or is that you're in a completely separate part of your life? And then just jot down in that someday goal right now, what are you feeling? What do you feel like when you're thinking about that someday goal? Now, the reason why this is so important, that someday goal, is when we set goals, we think in numbers, and numbers are absolutely part of our goals. And yet it's important to know that on the way to goals, we're going to have obstacles and roadblocks. So what happens is the people in there with us help motivate us right past and bust through those obstacles. So now I want you to think about your significant other. If he or she's there in that picture with you, what are they doing in that someday goal? What about the kids, right? Are the kids with you? Are the grandkids with you? What activities are you guys able to do as a family? Does your spouse work? Do you have the resources that you desire? Are y'all able to travel? And did you pay for college? Is that, on the table? So now I want you to do, and this, just write this, don't write this down, actually. Don't write this down. Just really briefly, I just want you to think about yourself, ask yourself this question. How could I sabotage myself? So what thought could maybe detract me from hitting this goal? Okay, now I want you to let that go. You had the thought, let it go. And now that that's gone, I want you to think, what could you do right now in the next 10 to 15 minutes when this call is complete? What could you do that would put you on the path to get you where you want to be? And because we're on a call about 411s, I'm going to say that that's the secret answer, right? So the thing we want to do is to focus on that someday, because when we do that, it becomes the most powerful thing. And now all of a sudden, we aren't getting caught up in the obstacles. And we're focused on our people, on our lives, and on our future, and focused on what could be versus the limitations. Now, with what I had you guys write down, I want you to think about, this is the bridge. So now you've started on, and you'll continue with the Kick-Ass Plan on your someday goals. Some of you probably already have your someday goals, and yet it's awesome to keep looking at those. I want you to imagine it's a bridge, and you're going to fold those someday goals into your 5-year plan. And then when you have your 5-year plan, you're going to fold it into your 1-year plan. So, and what needs to happen in 5 years with your career, your business, personal health, right? And then you fold it into your 1-year plan. Now, this is where that 411 comes in. And what that 411 looks like is, it's not a control tool. It's a tool that allows us the pathway vehicle to hit our someday, right? And so this is, whenever we utilize the 411, we are creating the pathway to get what it is that we desire out of life. And this is why, we all talk about and utilize this so much. And as a MAPS coach, we're like, give it to me, right? Do it. And it's because we know that if we know where we want to go someday, and we've broken it all the way to the now, if you think bold, right? Be, do, have. Well, we're actually in the B. If our today lines up to our someday goal, because we folded it backwards, that means we're actually in the B already. So that's pretty cool, yeah? You guys are all muted, so I'm going to assume that you all said yes. That's what I like to do when we're muted. Now, I am going to go ahead and unmute you guys, just if I can figure out how to unmute everybody. Maybe I'm not able to do that. Okay, I'm going to unmute everyone right now. If you're in a noisy place, want to unmute you, go ahead and mute yourself. And yet I want to hear what are your thoughts on just to this piece of where we are on figuring out like how to utilize the 411 from breaking it down to from your someday goals. Who would share?
Oh, I'm gonna throw some in for your parents.
Oh, yeah. No, they would love it.
Love you.
I love you too. I know. I'll take what I can get.
All right. We're going to change that up. I'm going to mute everybody because there was some background noise, and I'm going to have you unmute or type in the chat box. What are what did you get from just walking through that someday exercise, getting to how do we utilize that to get to our 411? Not everybody at once. Okay, well, I'm going to move on. If you have a thought or comment, go ahead and type that in. And yes, so Tia, thank you for sharing that. Yes, absolutely. Begin with the big picture, work our way backwards from there, step by step. That's brilliant, and that's what the 411 will allow you to do. Okay, so now let's get into the nuts and bolts of a 411. Okay. Now, the biggest thing with a 411, and I think that it's something that hangs a lot of people up, is it means that you're going to have to actually plan what it is that you do. So a lot of times, right, we think ready, aim, fire. And yet in our businesses, we fire, ready, aim. And so when we utilize our business that way, we're not actually on path to where that we want to go. So with the 411, and some of this stuff, right, is what you already know, right? You're going to start with your yearly goals. Now, one of the things, if you look at breaking this down, especially for you guys that run teams, you want to break it down into business and then your job, finances, and then personal. And the reason we you could break it into even more categories, and yet at least those 4 categories, because then you're looking at, okay, what do I want my business or team to do versus what is my job or my position on the team? So for instance, with this example that we're using, if we look at this and said, okay, my business is to close 55 units, or maybe it's 200 units. Well, with your role as the team, maybe you're the listing specialist, and so your job says you're going to take X amount of listings. And so when we have, so that's 2 different hats. And so the business is what is this year our business is going to do. And then what is my job as maybe listing specialist? What am I going to do? And then of course, finances and personal. Now with this, you're going to want to get very specific. And at the same time, you don't want, and so somebody had made a comment earlier, I think Dustin, around making this just a to-do list. This is the success list that Gary Keller talks about. So while there's lots of things that are important, what are the things that are going to move your business forward? So if you think about in the one thing, we talk about, right, the one thing. Jay Papasan, I was listening to a thing with him last week or so, and one of the things that he mentioned, and it kind of hit me in the face, and I'm sure I've read it and heard it before, and yet with him saying it that way, if you imagine all of your dominoes are lined up, right? These are what this is, all your dominoes lined up, and what you do right now, when you push that domino, right, what's the one thing that can do that makes everything else easier and unnecessary? Boom, 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 domino, domino, domino. This is what the 411 action sheet helps you do. So of course, from our annual goals, and you're really, to do this at a high level, you're going to want to plan on taking this from your business plan. So we worked our way back from the someday goal. Go ahead and create your 5-year business plan. What's your organizational chart look like? And then back that all the way up into your 1 year. What's my organizational chart look like? What's my business plan? And then putting your business plan onto a 135. Now, when I take that 135, that's my one-page business plan, I'm going to plug it into my 411. And this is how it actually helps me do that, because the 411 they are the gauges and the leverage to your business. So, excuse me, that made me think of something I was going to pull up and share with you guys. All right, so now we want to look and say, okay, if this is my annual goals, I've taken at least, it's probably a day or two planning what I want for my year, because this is where these become your non-negotiables. So either the goal has to be non-negotiable or the activities. Well, for you to hit your goal, these are your non-negotiable, no matter what. This is what you're going to get. This is what, let's say 2018 is going to look like. So now the thing that's negotiable is how to get there. So once I have my yearly goals, then I would break out my monthly goal. So my monthly goals might change based on what happened last month. So you want to go ahead and make sure that you're spending an hour or two before, like maybe the last Sunday of the month before the next month, right? Really looking at and going, okay, based on where I'm at right now, what do I need to do this month in order to be on track? Once we know what we have to do right now in order to be on track, then we can create our monthly goals. And it's going to take some planning, because again, we're looking at ready, aim, fire. Not just as, and I'm speaking about myself here too, right? We're real estate agents, so we just run out, oh, well, if I do more stuff, and then we run out of time and we realize, oh, we didn't do the things that would cause our business to move forward. So make certain that you have time planned out, and typically Sundays work best. You're not in your business, so carve out a couple of hours, maybe, 6 to 8, or, make sure you have your family time and carve out some time, go into a private room, do something, create a system so that every month you're planning that next month to a very high level, and that those monthly goals support your yearly goal. And then this is the next ticket. So if I've created my monthly goals and I said, okay, whether it's 5 units or 15, like this is what my business is going to do. This is what me and my job on the team is going to do. This is how much money I'm going to put in reserves, or, if you look here, right, so, purchase one investment property in this example. So, this month, right, it's the MREI, a Millionaire Real Estate Investor. What's my physical health? Now, it could be your physical health. It could be, right, just anything, your personal, right? And for me, I termed it physical health. Now, once I have my monthly goal, I'm going to decide what does my week need to look like. So again, this is where it's not about a to-do list. It's, if nothing else got done in my business, these things must be done in order for my business to be successful. And so you only want to do 1 week at a time, because again, we talked about these goals, they are non-negotiable. How we get there might change a little bit. So for instance, let's say that we needed to close 10 listings this month, or we'll just go with the example here. So we needed to, in order to hit our goal of 5 units closed, we needed to close a minimum of 1 this month. And then we had our volume, our GCI, and then we were going to register for career visioning. That's the business, right? Now for personal, my job for us to be on track, it would be to take 1 listing, identify 2 nurturers, go on 3 listing appointments, fill out my pipeline report, review P&Ls. What am I reading? because that's just, again, that supports my monthly goal. What am I doing personally? Now, the reason why we do this 1 week at a time is because then from here, we go right into putting this on our calendar. And then based on what I do this week, then next week, Sunday, when I plan the next week, I recreate my plan of attack. So what I might happen is, let's say, you know what, I for whatever reason, my closing got bumped, or I didn't take my one listing. Well, then now it's 2 listings. And so that's how we move it to make sure that this is supporting, all of this has to make sure it's supporting our annual goal. Okay. So I'm going to pause real quick before moving into a different 411 example, and then bringing that all the way into your calendar piece. Do we have any questions or something that I haven't touched base on right now? You can either unmute yourself and share, or you can type it into the chat box. While I'm waiting for that, for any questions that you guys have, for anyone that wants to use the 411 that is online, when you log into kw.com, you can simply go to resources, scroll down here to the 411 tools, and it's going to open that, and you can download it. So there's the different examples if you wanted to combine them or have a business and personal one. What I showed you, was combined. Or you can go here to go to your online tool. And so you can actually see, you got business, personal, monthly, weekly. And then as you do them, you just mark them off. And then when you get ready to do the next month, you can just move over anything that wasn't completed. And again, you still have your personal and your business goals here. All right. Okay, so I still don't have any questions, and yet if there's something that I'm not touching on that you wanted to get out of today's webinar, this is your opportunity to make sure that you can use it at a high level. Because when we're looking at the 411, there's a couple things, and you guys have probably heard this before. We want to make sure it's 5 to 7 key goals, and those and so the ones that the recommendation, at least these 4 key goals: business, personal, financial, and job. We've looked at how do we make sure that we go through and set our monthly, weekly goals. And so every week when you're setting aside that half to hour week to form those goals for the upcoming week, those weekly goals, and I touched on this a second ago, think of those as the levers. So these are the actions or the activities, right? So the levers are those goals that are the mechanics or how-tos of achievement. So, and these weekly goals are the steps you will take towards your monthly and annual goals. So again, this is how we make sure that it doesn't become just the to-do, just a to-do form. Now, these are a couple questions that we had. What habits around the 411 do you keep? Do you do to keep this top of the mind? And the next question was any advice for admin or operation staff who may be supporting team goals? Okay, that's a perfect one, Dustin. Yeah, everything is tied directly to the annual goals. it just looks a little different. So Dustin's question, I'm sorry, I stopped reading it just to make sure he says, any advice for admin or operation staff who may be supporting team goals and yet their monthly or weekly goals may not be directly tied to the annual goals? Everything is tied to annual goals. So for instance, if I'm going to create a 1-3, I'm going to want to make sure that our 33 touch is at a high level, and that's your job as the admin. Well, that means that, you know, how much or what percentage of this is going to go toward our annual goal. Now, the same thing with, if it's to create an 8x8, or, you know, how do we make sure, if you were the one that was doing the transaction coordinating, how do I make sure that this is efficient so that we can do more transactions, or we bring more referrals to the team? So everything is tied back to the annual goals. You just may want to continue to ask yourself that question and other people around how does this tie back? Because eventually you might decide that it doesn't tie back, and so it's not something that you guys should be focusing on. And then Patrick, you asked the question about what habits around the 411. This is just, I don't know if everyone experiences this, so I'll share my experience. When I first started using the 411, it was a bit of Diana says, right, it's a fascination. So it was a fascinating process because I kept doing it and not really getting anything from it. I felt like it was just a step that I had to get through. And then a miracle happened. I kept using it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, every time I'm creating a 411 and I'm putting it into place, things are getting done. I'm not getting bogged down in the things that are going to that spin me out, spin my team members out, where we're not like, we just realized, wow, and I'm sure maybe, you know, nobody else has done this, maybe just me, where we've created or bought in or, you know, to the system, and then we look up 2 months later and go, why are we doing this? And it's because we got off of creating that plan every month and making sure that that was supporting that year goal. So some of the habits with a 411, set an alarm, set it as a non-negotiable. Like, no matter what, I'm going to do this on this day of the week. The other habit is many of us attempt to do that in the week. I'm sure it works for some people, and yet I don't know of who, because during the week you're already thinking go, 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 and the action. So it's not really a planning time. So again, that's why, you know, Sunday is such a valid day to do this. So maybe you guys go to church and you do it, you know, or your family sleeps late on Sunday. Either way, you wake up super early, get this knocked out, and then go about your day, but where you can have quiet time. So that's going to be the biggest habit around the 411 is put it in place. And then, you know, do it when it's not right in the middle of your business. And then always making sure that you are handing that into somebody, your MAPS coach, your team leader, somebody, so that if you're, and it doesn't even, yes, it matters if they go through it, or I don't even know that it does. Really, it's about, they can look at that and help see if you're on track. And yet it's really about you making sure that you're spending time on your business instead of just in your business. And so many of us just spend it in the business. So pick a time, make it non-negotiable, and keep doing it. The other piece is, if you guys have not either been to or taught, maybe that's, if you really want to master it, the time management 411 class that is on KW Connect. That will help you master it. So start teaching that, because the more you master this 411, the more you master your business and get to where you want, you desire to go that much faster. Now I'll keep coming back and answering any questions. And I also want to look at, because this is the next piece, is if I created the 411, how do I actually implement it on an everyday basis? Well, because it's very much like, once I set a goal, let's weight's an easy one example. Let's say that I said I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Well, once I back that all the way up to what do I have to eat this week in order to support 20 pounds, I don't even have to think about the pounds anymore. It's what am I doing today, right? Well, it's the same thing. So you take your 411 and now you go to your day planner. And so I'm going to use, I'm going to share with you guys an example of mine. See, that's goal setting to the now. If you want to redo that, John Davis will lead you through that activity. If you haven't done it with your team, this is just a side note, that would be very, very impactful for your team members as well. So let me get to my, one second. Thought I had it pulled up. Maybe I do. Yes. Okay. So this is an example of a day planner. Now, most of you guys, I'm sure, either have a day planner or you do it online. Great rule of thumb, and Gary Keller says you plan on paper, remind electronically. So when you're planning your week, you take your 411 and you put it by your calendar. And, or if you don't have a planner, order the maps one. Diana has done a phenomenal job of creating a calendar. So for us to hit our goals. So now this is just an example. This is the one that's actually in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And if you happen to have the MREA in front of you, or you want to see what this looks like in the book, it's on page 258 in the MREA. But so, and you will notice in the MREA, this is messages, and I changed it to never do again. I'll explain that in just a second. And yet, so now I want to look at and go, okay, what, if I look back at my 411, does my calendar support my 411? Well, if my 411 said that I was going to go on 3 listing appointments this week, do I have spots in my calendar for 3 listing appointments? Now, I'm just showing you one day, obviously, and yet that's how you make sure that you utilize the 411 in your everyday life. So let's say there, like it said, I'm going to read, 20 pages of the MREI. Where would I put that in my day? Well, that's where, right, I would come right here and put, read 10 pages. Like it would literally go into my schedule, and that's how I know that it's going to get done. So whatever day, right, of the week that you would do this in my 411, it says going to drink 72 ounces of water. So that's going to be in my schedule, excuse me. And as I do it for the day, I'm going to mark it off. Did I follow my meal plan? Did I work out with Jeff, right? Now, I added this for the success list just because I always write, this is something that, Diana shares with us in bold. Lead generate, lead follow up, go on appointment, negotiate, contract, script, and role play. Is that in your schedule every single day? Where is it reflected in your schedule? So again, this is how you make sure your schedule, you take the 411, you break it down per day for your schedule. All right, so I'm gonna kind of turn it back over to you guys. What is there any questions around how to make sure you get your 411 into your calendar? Because again, if you just do the 411 on Sunday and you chunk it, it probably would still be beneficial because your brain's going to go to work on what it is, right? Your subconscious, your unsubconscious mind, they're going to start lining up because you're working on it and you're figuring it out. And yet it's more beneficial if you put it in your actual calendar. So share with me, maybe even share with me, what are you doing right now to put it in your calendar, or what it is that you have questions or you run into a challenge with getting it into your calendar. And while you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to move forward to one other piece, and yet I'll definitely answer any questions on that because that's going to be the huge piece. And a side note, I know that every one of you guys have day planners, and you're following a schedule. And I'm going to say it anyways. If you don't, or a team member doesn't, quit it. You know, there's that saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Do you have something that you're looking at and going, okay, these are the things that are going to get me to where I desire to go? Where I'm taking you guys to now is on KW Connect. If you type in the search bar, Time Management 411, maybe just time management. And again, I know that most of you guys probably have been through this course, and yet sometimes we forget, because we have so many resources, we forget to go back to something that's just tried and true. So the Time Management 411 class, you don't obviously have to wait for the class. You can come right here and get the materials. And this would be, especially if you're helping your, maybe you are an admin, or you want to make sure that your admin, what they're doing is supporting the goals. Of course, you know, we start with us first because speed of the leader, speed of the pack. If you look in the manual and you go to the back, they actually have some samples of 411 worksheets, not only for you, the agent, also it breaks it all the way down to your marketing and admin manager. And, well, there's a team leader, if we had any team leaders or OPs on here. But so even your staff, on what are they doing to support the team goals? And then these are the 8 key, 8 goal categories for the marketing admin manager. And again, for you as a mega agent, what are your goal categories? What to track? So again, this was just kind of a side note, because again, we typically forget to go back to this. All right, so Jolynn, one of the things that she shared was she's color coding her calendar to align with the 411. That's actually, Jolynn actually heard that from via I don't know, just maybe a few weeks ago or a month ago, and I thought that's brilliant. So yes, color code your calendar to align with your 411. And Jolynn says, this helps me to see that each of my job, business, finances, and personal are both on my calendar and my 411. Yes, that's a huge, thank you for bringing that up, because that is huge. And if we look back at maybe, and the cool part, you color code it however you want. Maybe you think green, red, whatever. But yes, then we know that each piece of that is in your calendar. Thank you for that, Jolynn. That was awesome. Okay. All right, guys, this is pretty much was my game plan to cover with you today. And yet we have 15 minutes, so we can wrap up early, or let me know, give me some feedback of what did you not get answered? What other questions that do you have? What's working for you? Maybe what are some of your ahas from today's webinar? How can we support you further? Anything, go ahead and it's very much we want to be participatory. So what is it that we can answer or look at to better to support you moving forward? And again, you can unmute or you can type it, either one. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so Dustin has a quick question for us. How many items per year, month, week, day to suggest each person having? Okay, great question. No more than 6 or 7. And really probably 3 to 4, or it becomes a to-do list. Yeah, 6 to 7 max. Because if you have more than that, and really 3 to 4, because maybe run it by your coach, run it by your team leader, and find out your area of importance. Which one of these would have the domino effect, right? It goes back to that question. What's one thing I can do that everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? So what would have one domino effect or the other to make that just completely move forward? Okay, perfect. Great question, Dustin. All right, anyone else? Okay. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and we'll consider the call complete. I am going to stay here for the next, say, 5-10 minutes. And that way, if there is, well, if you're asking questions, right, I'll stay here for the next 5 or 10 minutes. But if you have questions, you want to suggest something, go ahead, type that message, let us know. Otherwise, we'll consider this call complete. You guys go rock it out. And thank you so much for being on the webinar with me. And I just realized I don't think I ever introduced myself. So Olivia Roberts, MAPS Bold Coach. I do 101 and I coach Bold. If I can ever be of assistance, let me know. And if you have any questions, let Kate know. She'll get them to me. Or if you just want to reach out to my email, it's just coacholiviaroberts@gmail.com. And otherwise, have an amazing weekend, and hopefully we'll see each other at family reunion soon. Oh, yeah, the great question. The never do agains. I did forget to explain that. So the never do agains, with my team, one of the things that would frustrate me is if a seller had to call us for something. And not because we didn't want them to, if there was something missing for them. I just felt like there was probably something we didn't handle correctly or we didn't communicate well. So this was an example of the never do agains. Is let's say a client called me because they, didn't get showing feedback or they were irritated about something. I would actually jot that in my day planner as a never do again, and knew that was an action plan that we needed to create for the team, or another conversation. Maybe we already had an action plan that would have covered this. And so I know we're going to go back and do additional training on that piece. So that was the never do agains. Anything that irritated me or irritates me around my business or personal life, then I can jot it down and create an action plan, or go back to an old action plan and revive something if necessary. So so that's the never do agains. this is the last thing that I'll say. And if you're already out, this in case anybody else watches this recording, when you're looking at your day planner, if you go ahead and put your appointments in, even if you're not, prior to you having the appointment, you just know that's your availability. When you're doing that, let's say you lead generated that morning and you hit your number of contacts, you hit your goal for appointments between lead generation and lead follow-up, and yet all the appointments were, maybe you have one appointment at 3:30 and the rest of the appointments the rest of the week. So here at 2:00, I can go, okay, I don't have an appointment. Do I lead generate, right? That's going to be my first option, and create more appointments depending on where am I on goal or not. And if I don't have an appointment and I look and say, okay, well, based on what's going on, it's lead generation. So now this is where I'm going to work on the special project. And so, because I know a lot of times we as agents run out of time to do things. If we have it in our calendar, right, the bold law, it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist, that lets me know where I can actually input that into my day. And if not, right, the appointment and the lead generation is more important than the project, so I can always move the project forward as I need to. All right. On that note, I'm going to end the recording. Thank you so much again for being on. And if there's anything I can do to be of assistance, let me know. Have an amazing week.